Good evening, everyone. My name is Jan Burton, and I'm very happy to welcome you on behalf of our sponsors, Create Boulder, whose board I sit on. Also, yay! Also, the Boulder County Arts Alliance, and the Dairy, who is sponsoring our event tonight. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and I'd also like to thank our candidates, because I've been in these seats before. It can be very intimidating sitting in front of an audience like you and getting asked questions that you may or may not know as much as you'd like to know. So let's be kind to our candidates, and I'd like to just show my appreciation for you being here. This is democracy at work. And when I sat on council from 2015 to 2017, I learned how important it was to be involved and educate yourself about local politics. Because often we're focused on the national or the state agenda, but not local. And you'll find out tonight some very great information about these candidates, so it can help you decide who to vote for on November 8th. I would now like to introduce our MC for the night, Justin Veach, who is the president of the Boulder County Arts Alliance's board, as well as Muckety Muck in all the arts in Longmont. So please help me welcome Justin.
That's Mr. Mucky Muck. Thank you. So welcome to the 2023 Boulder Mayoral and City Council Candidates Forum on the Arts. How about that? I want to thank the lovely Dairy Center for the Arts. For the what? For the what? For the arts, that's right. For offering up this space for this important conversation this evening. I also want to thank you all for coming out in support of the arts here in Boulder, and I want to thank our candidates for taking the time out of their very busy schedules to talk about something I know we all hold very near and dear to our hearts. I've dedicated my life and career to the arts, and I don't know how about you all, but I feel like they've saved my life many times over. Anyway, on with the show. I'd like to review the format with you all. This evening's program will feature questions prepared by various Boulder-based arts organizations, as well as questions developed by our organizers, Create Boulder and the Boulder County Arts Alliance. 2 city council candidates will be chosen randomly to answer each question. Jan Burton will be my lovely assistant. She'll be drawing names from the hat. All of our mayoral candidates will have an opportunity to answer the questions posed to them. Everyone will be limited to 1 minute in their responses, and we will be keeping time. We have a timekeeper in the front row over here. Maggie, wave. Yes, thank you. Will there be any surprises? Maybe. Okay. So we're going to start with 1-minute introductions. We're going to start with the mayoral candidates. And why don't we go right to left? Go ahead, and you can just step up.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to be here with you today. My name is Aaron Brockett, and I'm currently the mayor of Boulder. I've been on the city council for 8 years. I live in North Boulder with my wife, 2 kids, and 1 very adorable dog. And let me tell you how important the arts are to me. I'm going to focus on the arts here today. So I actually have a bachelor's in music. That's my degree, and am a singer as well, a tenor, well, more of a baritone at this point. But I've actually sung on this stage a number of times with the Ars Nova Singers over the years. So these are issues very central to my time here. And I've supported the arts throughout my time on council. We've increased funding dramatically over the last 8 years. I've served on the board of the Dairy and on the board of BMOCA as well. And recently I collaborated with Create Boulder to put this arts tax on the ballot, and you'll hear more about that in a minute. I'm looking forward to that being successful. And I'll just close by saying, in Boulder, the arts deserve to thrive. Thank you.
Oh boy, you do not want to hear me sing. I will just talk. Good evening. My name is Nicole Spear, and I'm running to be Boulder's first elected mayor. What I wanted to start with tonight is to tell you one of the things that I most appreciate about art, how it teaches us to value different perspectives. Two people can listen to the same song, look at the same painting, or read the same poem, and have very different experiences. We expect these differences and honor them when we're appreciating art. But somehow when it comes to politics, we lose our ability to notice that differences of opinion are a normal part of the human experience. In these divisive times, art reminds us to seek mutual understanding. It teaches us to have a spirit of curiosity and approach our differences with an attitude of wonder. This is a beautiful lesson we can carry forward to political discussions. So I hope we all come away from our discussion tonight with a little more openness, a little more desire to seek understanding, and a little more awareness of the value of art in shaping our thoughts and communication. Thank you.
My name is Bob Yates. I have served on the Boulder City Council for the last 8 years, and I'm running for mayor. You know, it always comes down to money, doesn't it? We'll talk about money tonight. My money adventure with arts here in Boulder started in 2014 when before I was on council, I was serving on the board of the Dairy Art Center and Chautauqua in the Museum of Boulder. And we got together and created the Community Culture Safety Tax, which you all approved, thank you, in 2014. And then we renewed it again in 2017 after I was on council, and we renewed it once again in 2021. But you know what? That's not enough. That's not enough money to sustain our artists and our arts organizations in this town. And so you're going to have the opportunity this fall to vote yes on ballot measure 2A. I work with Create Boulder and a number of the other arts organizations in our town to craft a ballot measure that I think everybody in our community, whether they're in arts or not, can support. We'll talk more about that tonight, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, my name's Paul Tweedley. I've lived in 4th Street, 4th and Alpine, for 20 years. I've got no political experience whatsoever. I'm a software engineer. What are my artistic credentials, though? I mean, Aaron can sing, but did you know I used to teach piano back in Scotland? 50 cents a lesson. I mean, that's below minimum wage. Try and just live in that, guys. But also, I played the organ in one of the local churches, and that's actually really good money. Anyway, this young lady asked me, why am I running for mayor? And you know, she kind of caught me by surprise, and I thought, you know what? I'm not too sure. Anyway, here I am. Have a good night. Try the beef.
All right, now it's time for our city council candidates to introduce themselves. Let's go to left to right this time.
Hi there, I'm just going to take this out. Hi there, I'm Jacques DeCallo. I was born and raised in Boulder. I'm a lifelong environmentalist, and I'm a huge supporter of the arts. I play the banjo, I mess around with the mandolin a little bit. My mom was in a band. My sister is currently applying to an art therapy program at Naropa. Arts is a huge part of my life, and I believe everybody should have an opportunity to express themselves and find that creation within themselves. I believe art plays a large role in building community, and that's something that we always need more of. We need more compassion, we need more understanding, and we need to understand people's different points of views and how they express themselves. And whether they're choosing to paint or sing or whatever their medium is, it's very important that we bring that forward. I look forward to the questions, and thank you for having us.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jenny Robbins. I'm running for Boulder City Council. I've lived in Colorado for 7 years. I've lived in Boulder for 5. I have 2 young girls who are 11 and 13, both who are singers in choir and enjoy the arts a lot. My husband is also an artist. He has a small business here in Boulder as well. I am a passionate advocate for youth and family, for the arts, for small business, for public safety. For me, living in Boulder, I think that we are in a position with this ballot measure 2A to really do some good. In my opinion, I don't think that the Boulder's properly funded the arts in many, many years. So I'm really excited to be involved and tell you more tonight about what I think we can do with the new ballot measure that's coming into Boulder. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Waylon Lewis. I'll try to speak up. I'm seeing some people having a hard time hearing us. I was born here. I took a class at the Pottery Lab, I think when I was 6, with Marcia Uso. You're going to hear all of us talk about how we're artists tonight. I'm no exception. I'm a writer, published author. My first book was one of the best-selling at the Boulder bookstore ever. I am never happier, ever, than when I'm on open studios biking around with my friends and sometimes my dog. I've stopped by Liz Kwan's over the years and many of you. My home is full of art and pottery. I love personally to support, and I'm very excited to support as a council member if I am so honored. And I mean that. I think if we asked for a show of hands who feels like art is woefully underfunded, that would be all of us. So who thinks art is woefully underfunded in Boulder? Let's fix that. And we can do that together. We can work together to build a coalition to really stop fighting among the nonprofits and fund arts properly. Thank you.
Oh, see, they said, Taisha, please don't just walk around with what's in your hand. So, yes, I too am an artist. No, I actually am. So my name is Taisha Adams. I use she, her pronouns. I've been living in Boulder for 11 years, and I am running for Boulder City Council. I am standing before you because of the arts. From kindergarten to college, I have performed, written plays, and one of my degrees is in film production. I also worked in an organization called Learning Through an Expanded Arts Program, and we worked directly with New York City teachers to help them integrate science, math, social studies. So again, what I'm looking for and what I support is new thinking and fresh perspective so that we have sustainability. I also worked 25 years in nonprofit. I understand the feast and famine of grant cycles, and that's not a sustainable way for us. We have a lot of uncertainty, so I'd like to use the next comprehensive plan for a more certain and sustainable line of funding that doesn't put us in peril and feast and famine. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Silas Atkins. I, unfortunately, like the rest of the crowd, don't have an artistic bone in my body. However, I do enjoy the arts very much. And a key part of why I want to be on council is to make sure we have the space to enjoy those arts, be they indoor spaces, outdoor spaces, etc. I see a lot of potential for us to advance that. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do long-term to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Terry Bernchich. I moved here 9 years ago from San Francisco with my husband and my 2 sons. I am a CFO and a CPA by trade. You know, during this campaign, it's really easy to get caught up in all the hard problems that we're facing as a city and talk about all the things we want to do to fix it. But I think we also need to take time to honor the programs that are actually working and are contributing positively to our community. We need the arts to really help build a vibrant, inclusive, and dynamic Boulder. And we can't lose sight of the fact that it's a really valuable tool in our tool belt to achieve those goals. So we need to make sure that we prioritize funding for it and keep it solid in our community. Thanks.
I bet you none of you play the saxophone, clarinet, and flute because I do. I'm Tara Weiner. I'm on City Council for the past 2 years, and I'm running for re-election. I'm originally from New York and Philadelphia, and moved here about 12 years ago with my daughters, and now I have 3 sons-in-law and 3 granddaughters. We have a lot of 3 things happening in our family. I'm going to say that I've worked really hard to support the arts in the last 2 years, and my opinion is that I love pie, especially apple pie, homemade apple pie. The problem is our pie isn't big enough. needs to be bigger. And that's why I support 2A. I'm very excited about 2A. I always want you to call me and let me know what's on your mind. So I always give out my phone number, 609-707-8385, yes, South Jersey. And I want to hear from each one of you what the arts mean to you and how I can help further. Thanks so much.
What we do in the next 2 to 3 years will determine our future. That's from the chief of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2007. 2007, I started working on climate action. And in the 16 years since, as most of you know, we have not done as much as we need to. What's been missing? Not technology, not economics, not a scientific understanding. I'll tell you one thing that's been missing: inspiration. Inspiration for us to collectively get off the couch. And that's where the arts community comes in. We need to better turn complexity into intuition. We need to better reach people in their hearts. And we need to create a better shared space and common direction to move forward. This is true for the climate crisis, and this is true for a lot of problems that are coming at us. My name is Ryan Schuhard, pronouns he, him. I'm running for city council because I want to help make Boulder become stronger, safer, and more inclusive, and build climate action. I look forward to working with you and discovering the possibilities. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Tina Marquis, and I'm running for City Council. I served on the Boulder Valley School District School Board for 8 years and consistently advocated for the arts there, understanding how important the arts are for strength-based learning and that we're all different, and helping elevate how kids feel about themselves, and also giving kids outlets for their mental health. If you ever see teenagers, they love to create art together. Also, I'm really excited to be in this building. I have spent so much time here between piano lessons, a short stint with guitar, the Pollyanna plays, the Betsy local lab. I've been supporting the dairy, and I think almost every organization that's here over the last 21 years that I've lived in Boulder raising 2 girls. So I'm very excited about 2A and think it will help create more sustainability for all the people who are helping our kids and our community be artists and appreciate art. Thank you.
Hey, aloha everyone. My name is Aaron Gabriel Nair. Little of my background. I have a background in technology. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. I got into computer science because I liked math, and I stayed there because I love to create. And it was the only way that my very mathematically oriented brain knew how to create. I also have a master's degree in eco-psychology, and I'm really interested in how a deeper connection to nature can solve a lot of the problems. And I think that requires, again, applying a living systems worldview to how we address the problems, which comes back to reconnecting to our environment and reconnecting to each other. I don't think that our problems are going to be solved by just electing the right people up here. I think it matters who we vote for, but what matters more is what we're creating as a community. What matters more is the culture that we are fostering, and one of the biggest things in fostering that culture is the arts. And so I think we really need to do more in our city to support the arts and support a creative community culture that can help us really find the right solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Now for our first question. Our first question comes from Visit Boulder. Oh.
Hello, everyone. Whoa. Hi, my name is Emiliano. I'm the Director of Visitor Experience and Community Partnerships at Visit Boulder. We are the official destination marketing organization for the City of Boulder. We manage and support the local visitor economy so that our residents can experience the quality of life they deserve from a healthy, thriving place to live, work, and play. I'm also honored to serve on the Board of Directors for the Boulder County Arts Alliance. Thanks, Charlotte. The audiences for our arts and culture experiences in Boulder are made up of a combination of Boulder locals, Denver Metro Front Range residents, and out-of-town visitors. If any one of the legs of these stools breaks, the system doesn't work. The 2 major drivers for visitors to Boulder are visiting friends and family and general leisure. We think a lot about the visitor experience and how Boulder establishes its sense of place amongst our other competitive destinations. I'd like you to think back to a trip you took where you had a memorable cultural experience, and my question extends from this memory. Question: how can we as a city better embrace and streamline processes for artists in order to make serendipitous cultural experiences happen more frequently here in Boulder and activate underutilized spaces?
Thank you, Emiliano. Jan, do you have names for us? Pam Schuchert. Oh, Ryan. Where did I get Pam from? Somebody's been... Pam. Ryan. Where on earth did Pam come from? Anyway, Ryan Schuchert and then Tara Weiner are taking this question.
Aren't I lucky? Everybody wanted this question. So I get to go down memory lane to New York, where I was a teen and took the subway from Canarsie, not the nicest place in the world, to stand online at Tix, to go to hear comedy, to go to the Museum of Modern Art, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and one of my favorites, the City of New York, Museum of the City of New York. So cultural experience, and a sense of place, as you would put it, is heavily on my mind because I recently went to First Friday and had the time of my life. Why did I have the time of my life? There was so much energy and so much action. I'm so looking forward to BMoCA moving up to North Boulder. I can really visualize this being the newest, latest, greatest place for people to come and hang out and a tourist destination. What I loved about it was it actually took unused space, or relatively unused space, and it transformed it. And so I would like to see that in South Boulder and also in East Boulder, by the way, so that it's every Friday. So people know that every Friday you can come to Boulder and have the time of your life and see art.
Okay, so I mentioned I'm a climate action advocate. About 10 years ago, I also fell in love with transportation, and so I'm a specialist in the world of transportation, and I sit on the city's Transportation Advisory Board. And one of the things that transportation planners get excited about the most is the question of, where do you like to go on vacation and why? And usually the answer is something along the lines of a place where there's not cars, where it can be bikeable, walkable, transit-rich, and you can have spontaneous freedom of movement. And that's one of our big opportunities in Boulder. It's one of our big opportunities to make Boulder a better and easier place to visit, and it's one of our big opportunities to reduce the cost of living in Boulder for artists who are trying to make ends meet here. So in general, we have a big opportunity to in a more integrated way, make land use, housing, and transportation work so that we can live in smaller places and also make life more walkable and transit-rich. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam. Our next question is for our 4 mayoral candidates, and it's about 2A. And just in case you haven't brushed up on your 2A background, I thought I'd just explain what 2A is all about briefly. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity in the city of Boulder to secure long-term funding for critical community needs, continuing an existing 0.15% sales tax, allocating 50% of the tax revenue to arts and culture, designating 50% into the city general fund to support homeless solutions, behavioral health, public safety, human services, parks, and other general needs. Now, do we have names from the hat for the mayoral candidates? Oh, okay. I'll read the question first. That makes sense. Assuming ballot measure 2A passes and you are elected mayor, what leadership would you give to the sector of arts and culture?
Okay, first respondent is Paul. Oh, excellent. Yeah, because there's a lot of money involved here. What is it, like can you hear me? 3 million. 3 million. That's a lot of money. And what if it doesn't get passed? Have you thought about that? I would say, how do I make this a wee bit? Excuse me. Arts is just a business like anything else. It's providing or offering services and products that people want to buy. So I would say you got to think about, like, you know, if this part, you know, and I'll vote for it, but maybe, you know, it's tough times and maybe it won't pass. And there's 3 million shortfall in your budget. So what do? You have to get bums on seats. It's like, you know, it's not easy to do. But here's what I would do. Right, so I'm a director here at the Dairy, you know, at the theatre, and it's like, am I going to put on one of these kitchen sink dramas? No, because what, guys are not going to come and see a kitchen sink drama, guys. During football season, come on, get real. Put on something like a bit of romantic comedy. It's all about bums on seats. Thank you.
So, y'all, I can't tell you how excited I am about this ballot initiative 2A. I'm so grateful to the organizers who made this happen. Raise your hand if you helped gather signatures for the 2A ballot measure. Thank you for your work, right? A hand for the... And what this means, if it passes, and it will pass if we all work together and get the word out, is transformative increase in arts funding for Boulder. You know, we've increased city support gradually over the last 8 years. It's not enough. This will make a huge difference. And I would lead in terms of providing the desperately needed general operating support for arts organizations in town. This would give enough money to provide substantial funding to essentially all of them, but as well as project-based grants and also reserving some money for some transformative projects, right? Over time, we can kind of build up an account that allows us to do things like what happened here at the Dairy, which has been an extraordinary accomplishment and a miracle for our cultural community here. So we need to keep an eye out for future opportunities like that. Things are going to be really amazing for the arts here in Boulder after 2A passes. So vote for it and get the word out. Thanks.
Next is Bob Yates.
You asked me a question about Measure 2A. About that, I have something to say. Sworn to council in November 2015, I voted for arts that very same day. Over the last 8 years, I have never said nay to increasing funding for arts. I've found a way. We started small, only about $200K, but over the years, grew funding day by day. Until this year, 1.8 million, I'd say, but still not enough, so we found a new way. On the ballot we go with Measure 2A. Half for the arts and half just to stay in the general fund for that rainy day. A really good split, I gotta say. After it passes that Measure 2A, I'll lead the parade on that happy day. For arts, culture, heritage, we all get to play. But that's not the end, I'll hasten to say. A floor, not a cap. We'll find a way to keep funding arts above Measure 2A.
And next is Nicole Spear.
Thank you. So we typically spend a lot of time on engagement when we're making budget decisions. Our budgeting process takes about a year and involves getting feedback from many different organizations and communities as well as our city departments. Because this measure is not the one that 3,500 people asked to put on a ballot and not the one that council had initially intended to put on the ballot, we really weren't able to do very much engagement with it. I had asked us to at least make sure that we were getting a little bit of feedback from some of the social justice-focused arts organizations like Modus Theater and the NAACP before we voted to put this measure on the ballot. But the little feedback that we received was really pretty mixed. Not every group was completely comfortable with this ballot measure because the tax these funds will come from has historically funded human services programs like rental and food assistance. If this measure passes, we'll need to do a more thorough engagement with arts and culture organizations and with our human services community just to make sure that our arts and culture programs are benefiting the marginalized communities that this tax has traditionally supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the Boulder NAACP.
Thank you. I'm Jude Landsman. I'm Vice President and Chair of Economic Opportunity Committee of the NAACP Boulder County. I'm also a performing artist. And now I have to turn my phone. Okay. Would you know? I've been a performing artist in Boulder for about 30 years, I think. NAACP Boulder County is a local branch of the national NAACP, the oldest civil rights organization in the nation's history. Our mission is to ensure the equality of rights of all persons and to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. Artists have often paved the way to freedom through the power of their medium and expression. NAACP values the arts as vital to its mission, speaking truth, touching hearts, opening minds, and inviting inclusion in the universal language of art. The Office of Arts and Culture and Boulder Arts Commission have incorporated cultural equity in their decision-making, primarily through the granting process in the last 5 years, in a way that other city departments may not have been able to. Our question, how will you, as city council members, ensure that cultural equity is a key criterion in grant making and is prioritized in the years ahead, especially if additional funding is provided through ballot measure 2A? Thank you.
First candidate is Taisha Evans.
Okay, thank you for this question. In addition to being an artist and other things, I am also an equity specialist who worked with state education agencies in the Midwest, like the Minnesota Department of Education, around accountability systems. And so one is defining culture. Whose culture? And really unpacking that term. Because only a couple of years ago, I've been here for 11 years, but only until a couple of years ago did I feel like African and African-American culture was represented outside of February. And so again, although I appreciate all of this, I had not seen it and experienced it. And so again, whose culture? The other is equity. What does that term mean? And again, I unpack that 4 ways: through access, representation, meaningful participation, and quality, outcome, and experiences. I do not see the money going to artists. I would like to explore other ways to ensure that our artists are paid a living wage. And again, I'm not seeing the trickle down. So please, I want to help innovate. Let's create together. Thank you.
Next is Aaron Nyer.
Hard act to follow. Thanks, Taisha. Yeah, I think this is absolutely essential that we get equity right here. I'm appreciating these perspectives that I hadn't gotten the full picture of where some of this conversation is going, because I would agree we need to make sure that equity is reaching where it needs to go, and that means that when we're funding the arts, we need to make sure that it's actually funding the artists and funding arts in the community. In terms of this question, I think what's going to be really necessary here is bringing the right people to the table, and that means ensuring that we have artists in the conversation as we're looking at where funds are being directed, and ensuring that we're bringing like historically marginalized and other groups to the table, and also leaning on the expertise of people who are in this field. Like, we have a great chief equity officer, I'm hoping I'm remembering her name right, Amy Kane, here in the city. And so we need to lean on experts like her who are doing this in the city and bring experts to the table so we can make sure this conversation is going where it needs to go.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the Derry Center for the Arts. Oh. Yeah, go right ahead.
Just had a cast taken off, so we have one hand. Hi, I'm Melissa Fathman, Executive Director of the Derry Arts Center. We've had a lot of talk about money and how woefully underfunded, so I'm just going to address the elephant in the room and talk about real numbers and real situations. So let's have fun with that. Really prefacing my question with some education, not only for the arts lovers and leaders, but all of you as well. So I'm going to tell a tale of two cities. Arvada is a city just 20 miles away with a budget of about $2,500 per resident, and Boulder, a city with a budget of about $5,000 per resident. And even though Boulder has twice the amount of money to spend per resident, this difference is not reflected in its contributions to the arts community. For example, and this is just one example, but it hits home here, so that's why I'm talking about it. Arvada's primary performing arts center receives guaranteed operating support each year that averages around $4 million, which is about 30% of their budget. And Boulder's primary arts center, you're here, the Dairy Arts Center, does not receive guaranteed general operating support and must take part in a competitive granting process that is capped at $50,000 per year, which is about 3% of our budget. The Dairy operates with a 50-50 mix of contributed and earned revenue, which means it costs us a lot more to run the facility than what we're able to charge in the nonprofit marketplace. But we work hard to raise contributed funds to subsidize the costs to our patrons and the over 100 arts organizations that rent our facility here, because we recognize that the entire arts community is a delicate financial ecosystem that cannot exist without community support. But despite increasing our contributed revenue year after year, and despite spending over $250,000, that's, you heard that right, on repairs and utilities for this building, we still have a 20-year-old HVAC control system, an old leaky roof, spotty internet service, and sadly, non-competitive staff wages for administrators. We can't even keep up with McDonald's. And on top of that, we talked about the safety tax. I recently learned the Dairy is not eligible to even apply for the safety tax for capital projects for nonprofits. So my question to all of you, or whoever gets this question, is what is your perspective on Boulder's current ratio between civic support and individual community support of the arts? Is 3% or potentially no operating support for the Dairy really good enough for a venue such as this? Are you really satisfied knowing that Boulder, a city with twice the amount of budget per resident compared to Arvada, is contributing significantly less to its arts community? Thank you.
The first respondee is Tina Marquis.
Thank you for that question and for describing sort of the choices we all make on and how we prioritize funding. And I think it's an excellent point to see how we're still relying a lot on individual contributors. Permanent funding for the arts and also for artists would be something I would prioritize in the budget, understanding that we have a lot of competing needs, including a homeless day center and other human services that we're relying on to help people with housing insecurity and food insecurity. So these really are tough decisions. That being said, I think we need to move towards sustainable funding rather than having people base their lives on grants year after year, and finding out how we and the Dairy can help people have more stability in their lives if they choose to pursue the arts, which and I'm so appreciative of this building and all the work the Dairy has done over the 20 years I've been here, making it a destination for kids and adults alike. Thanks.
And the second is Silas Atkins.
So I'm going to delve here a little bit into some things that are touched on already, and Tina just mentioned this, and Taisha mentioned this in their opening, which is we need more stable funding. The 2A measure is not a good long-term strategy to fund these things. Looking at grants, as Tina mentioned, is not a good long-term strategy to fund things. we need to make sure that people are taken care of. And with my focus on community, that's very important. We need to long-term look at how we can better fund this. And for me, that's moving things away from sales tax. As we saw with COVID, that took a huge hit to the city of Boulder in funding for everything, including a bunch of salaries for folks that were laid off. And so we really need to look at how we can find a way to do that. We do have the unfortunate taper rule in place, which limits what we can do with these things. So big picture, we need to look at some of that. But in the short term, we need to all come together and agree that we need to find ways to raise that money with things like mill levies. Thank you.
So our next question is a yes or no one. And we're going to have you raise your hands for yes and raise your hand for no. Here's the question. Great communities are oftentimes defined by their great cultural institutions, the ballet, symphony, philharmonic, etc. Right now in the city of Boulder, all organizations are funded based on a competitive granting process. In 2022, both our ballet and philharmonic were initially not awarded any funding. Should the city ensure funding for our bedrock cultural institutions? Yes? Show of hands.
I didn't understand the question, sorry.
Should the city ensure funding for our bedrock cultural institutions?
That's a no-brainer.
And the noes? Do we have an abstaining? We have some abstaining folks? Okay, thank you. Our next question comes from the youth orchestra.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Jack. I have the pleasure of working with the Greater Boulder Youth Orchestras. Currently, we have about 125 students of all ages in various ensembles. And one of those students was going to be here tonight to ask this question, but unfortunately couldn't make it. One of the things we're so proud about is that our board of directors includes 2 students who are currently in our orchestras. There is so much research that shows that learning instrumental music is incredibly valuable. For example, neuroscience shows that learning a musical instrument increases brain power and functionality in the short and long term. Those who study music do better in math, science, English, and foreign languages. They have better cognitive skills and school grades and are more conscientious, open, and ambitious. They are 24% more likely to graduate. So my simple question here on behalf of the youth orchestra is, can you tell us about your own experiences with music in middle school and high school and your understanding of its value in the lives of young people?
The first is Terry Bernchick.
So I have 3 really close friends who have kids that have been in the GBYO program, and I've had the opportunity to go see their performances. It's been amazing. One of those kids is Jaco Perlov. He's a senior at Boulder High School now, and he's a pianist that many of you probably know of. You will hear of this child. I talked to him about his experiences with music, and he wrote me back, and I just want to read it because I couldn't do it justice. Music is essential for kids to learn because it teaches them how to interact with their audience, express themselves, and understand the world around them. Music forces people to learn about history, geography, and literature because as music comes from human experience, the study of the world is necessary to convey musical composition successfully. In the musician's eyes, music allows oneself to transport to other worlds and explore what it means to be adventurous. It keeps kids engaged. It forces kids to stay active in the present moment. It develops a sense of community through performing with others, thereby establishing everlasting friendships. Music also develops a work ethic to constantly improve, constantly involve, and constantly learn about the world and themselves. Thank you.
Jacques Nicolo.
Personally, I was never in band or choir, but I would jam with my friends. Me and my friends would hang out, play a little bit of music, laugh, have a good time, and then, learn about different cultures and different musical backgrounds and understand the importance of the history of American music and the cultural differences of American music and the diversity in American music and understanding a little bit of our history and how that's transformed our culture. America is one of the most beautiful melting pots in the world for music, and I think that's something that a lot of people kind of overlook. A lot of it kind of gets swept under the rug with someone like sampling someone else's music, kind of making it famous, but there's so many layers to that. That's an important education for people to understand and know where we've come from to get where we are. I think music in children is one of the most important things, just to stimulate their brain, to get them involved in some sort of community. And not necessarily, it doesn't even have to be music, it can be some form of art or any medium that gets them to express themselves and gets them to be part of a community, just so they have that base of understanding and compassion for one another. Thank you.
Our next question comes from the Downtown Boulder Partnership.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melanie Ritchie. I'm the Community Relations Manager for Downtown Boulder Partnership. And DBP is a 501c6 nonprofit membership-based organization. And for most of you, that is really the Pearl Street area in downtown. DBP promotes the civic, economic, and commercial vitality for downtown Boulder while helping preserve its historic and cultural environment as the heart of the greater Boulder community. DBP supports downtown businesses through public policy advocacy and provides staff to implement the missions of the Downtown Boulder Business Improvement District and the Downtown Boulder Community Initiatives, which all intersects with the arts. This past weekend, we hosted a Community Arts Day. We have at least 26 businesses in downtown who are directly involved in the arts. And our question is similar to what you've heard tonight. But representing those businesses, we're curious of the candidates, if 2A passes in November, how will you work with the Office of Arts and Culture to ensure the funds are allocated in an equitable way to have a maximum positive impact on artists and local businesses in the arts, including those in the downtown Boulder community?
Waylon Lewis is our first responder.
I've never been a first responder before. So this is a difficult question, and I think, in a way, this is a trap. I think, when you run for city council, the instinct is to invest in your own opinions. I don't know about you, but I think Boulder has enough opinions. We need some listening. We need to listen to stakeholders. We need to listen to experts. Because, someone mentioned the pie. I haven't stopped thinking about it since, I think it was Tara. We need to grow the pie, but for the pie we're gonna have, especially if 2A passes, it's gonna be, if you have 12 children fighting over pie, you have to find some organization for it. And we have so many beloved children, right? Streetwise, BMOCA, the list goes on, Chautauqua music. I'm gonna run out of time on that. But it needs to be equitable, number one. We've covered that a little bit. And it needs to be stable, number two. And fair, hopefully, according to at least most of those involved. Thank you.
Next is Jenny Robbins.
Oh, I watched all those questions go past. It made me so sad. They're all such good questions. But I do love this one, and partially because my background is in contract negotiation with a specialty in land use and zoning, with regulatory and landmark parts when it comes to regulations and landmark and historic buildings. And so with that in mind, I think it's very imperative that we keep the historic nature and the and our community looking like it should and being like it should. With that in mind as well, so the current budget for arts being $1.8 million, half of that money goes towards grants, half of that money goes towards operational expense. And when 2A passes, I think that it will be imperative to make sure that all of that money in the 2025 budget goes for the arts. So I will, if voted on to council, will make sure that we keep our community character like it is, and we keep our small businesses happy and safe, and that as much money as we can goes towards the arts, and the remainder of the money that we have going towards operational expenses stays just where it is. Thanks.
Our next question comes from our organizers, Create Boulder and the Boulder County Arts Alliance. Lack of affordable workspaces and venues are a major challenge to Boulder's arts ecosystem. Would you support adaptive reuse of underutilized city-owned facilities or other public investment in affordable spaces? And if so, how would you make this happen in the city's bureaucracy?
This is for the 4 mayoral candidates, and the first response will come from Aaron Brockett.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a proven model that has worked in the city of Boulder. I mean, we're sitting right now in a facility that's actually owned by the city of Boulder and then run amazingly by the Dairy Arts Center, and BMOCA as well. So this is a way that we can promote arts in town in a really productive way. A little while ago, I had the really interesting pleasure of visiting the Museum of Boulder's artifact storage and gun barrel, and they have some amazing artifacts in there, but the facility is aging, it's not in good shape, it doesn't have the climate control they need. Like, there's so many needs for the organizations in our community, and repurposing an older city building could be a great way of helping out with some of these problems. I think also there could be opportunities at the new city facility that's being built at Alpine Balsam. I think we can have some office space for arts organizations as well there, as well as some public art projects. I think of the way BMOCA always has an exhibit in the lobby of Mackey Auditorium. So the city supports for the arts needs to not just be monetary, but also look to these facilities and leveraging opportunities like these as well. Thanks.
Next is Paul Tweedley.
Guys, there's zero chance that this is going to happen. I'll tell you what, I mean, have you ever tried to, like the fall festival there, and you try and buy a drink, and it's like you got to go into a prison, you get like patted down, you're having a drink, and you just feel like you're in a jail. And it's just like the restrictions, and it's not like that in Europe, guys. It really isn't. People are normal there. Sorry, guys, just kidding. But yeah, you've got to think of other things outside the box because, city facilities, there's going to be red tape. There's this, you need a permit. No. So one time I saw a flash mob at the courthouse down there, and it was just like, they put out their 3x4 and then they do their kind of stuff, and it was just like, but you're not going to collect any money in a flash mob. How about this? Have it in your own homes. Announce it to all your friends. Tell them, come over, bring your own booze to avoid any city kind of problems there. But, you got to pay money. All right, that's my idea.
Next is Nicole Spear.
So one of the things that I'm really excited about that voters did a couple of years ago was to pass the Community Culture, Resilience, and Safety Tax. This tax is going to set aside about $22 million over the next 15 years so that nonprofit organizations that are serving city community members can establish and maintain a long-term physical presence in the city. And many of the organizations that I've been encouraging to apply for these funds are the smaller arts and culture nonprofits that are currently having to kind of borrow space and shuffle around the city in order to make their programs happen. The first application closes on October 20th. So if this is something that's of interest to you, I really encourage you to apply. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people initially to get some technical assistance, especially for the smaller arts and culture organizations, so that they can develop the qualifications that they need to apply for some larger ones. So this is actually a way that you can make the city bureaucracy work for you.
Bob Yates.
Another poem. So you'd like to know if arts has a place, an appropriate spot. Do we have a space? For artists and groups to show off their grace. A city building once they're displaced? Or something else, maybe Alfalfa's old place. The key is the cost, so arts can keep pace. The answer is yes, for there is no disgrace. In adaptive reuse, no need to replace. A building that's there, the carbon in base. Let's recreate as an artist showcase. We've done it before, put art any place. 3 museums, a dairy, we have knowledge base. So heck yeah, I say uppercase. Let's work with the city to find some more space. The city moves slow, hard to get to first base, but persistence pays off. I know the pace. I've done it before. I get the rat race. But our work will pay off. We'll do it with haste. We'll get a building or two. Tap into tax base. Homes for the arts. Find a place for that grace.
Now we're going to ask the same question of two of our council candidates. I'm going to repeat it. Lack of affordable workspaces and venues are a major challenge to Boulder's arts ecosystem. Would you support adaptive reuse of underutilized city-owned facilities or other public investment in affordable spaces? And if so, how would you make this happen in the city's bureaucracy?
The first one goes to Silas Atkins.
Thank you. Underutilized spaces is something that's very dear to me because I feel that we have opportunities to build not only art spaces, but housing and other needed services in places where we are not using land well. I would actually like to see us look to other sources for doing things like that than just the buildings and places that are there, and find ways to incorporate multiple funding sources to make sure that we have spaces that people can live in and enjoy art in, and be surrounded by things. Back to the community part that I've talked about before. You know, fostering that sense of community takes building intentional spaces where people want to spend time in. And so that's a place where you can feel safe when you're at home, and when you can venture out and talk to your neighbors in the courtyard or a common area where there's art on display, or you can see a performance happening in that space. And so repurposing buildings, building new buildings, all of that needs to be done to make sure that we have what we need. Thank you.
And second is Terry Bernchich.
So the short answer is yes, I definitely support it. I think it kills two birds with one stone. We can, advance some of our climate goals around sustainability by reusing facilities as well as housing some of these arts programs. Obviously, as a newbie and not knowing all the bureaucracy that happens in the city, I would approach this in some ways the way we approach our affordable housing. We issue vouchers, rental vouchers, to individuals that are in need of affordable housing, and I wonder if we couldn't pilot a similar program for individuals that are looking for art space to basically offset some of the costs of the rent rates. So I think that the goal is that we've got to come up with some creative solutions to addressing the affordability for our arts, and I think that, that to me, that would be one way to achieve it, while also kind of keeping with our affordable housing goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is where things get really crazy. We're going to have you stand up. All candidates who support voting yes on 2A, please go stand by the piano. Yes on 2A. All of those who go no on 2A, come stand by the podium. Thank you. You may be seated. Well, guess what? We're running way ahead of schedule. We've just been running right through this. So we do have some time left for each candidate to give a 1-minute summary of this evening. We're going to start with our mayoral candidates. And do we want to draw from the hat for that, or no? We'll just go, last time we went right to left, this time we'll go left to right with our mayoral candidates. 1 minute to sum things up. Oh, wow. Ooh. That's great. That's a song by ELO.
Oh, well, I mean, I grew up Scotland, can you believe it? I remember that was one of the first songs that I heard. Now I've got the privilege to step up and be a with you.
So Dr. Zeus is up in heaven looking down saying, Bob, stay in politics. One of the nicest compliments anyone ever played to me was Sean Maher, the former chairman of the Downtown Boulder Partnership, and he said, if you want something done, tell Bob Yates it can't be done. I was on the building committee for this building when we renovated it in 2014 and 2015. I was the chairman of the board of the Museum of Boulder when we built that brand new museum on Broadway. In both instances, I was told it can't be done. And that's what I'm offering to you as my leadership. You hear us up here mostly agree on support for the arts. But what differentiates us, I believe, is leadership. I have a long track record of leadership in this community, and I ask you to allow me to continue to lead you. Thank you.
I wish so much that I had more time to talk with you all about how we are shifting our city's budgeting process to focus on sustainability, equity, and resilience, because it will have profound impacts on the arts. In the coming years, as we make this transition, we will naturally begin supporting more of the programs that are fostering community well-being for all of us. And the arts has such an essential role in our well-being. I expect that we'll be funding more programs like Third Law's Dance for Parkinson's, like the Proclaiming Black History exhibit that will open at the Museum of Boulder and run for 2 years starting this Friday, like Cellists for Change that is providing all kinds of opportunities to diverse youth in our schools so that they can learn how to play the cello and work with people in South Africa or South America. If you are interested in continuing this conversation, please reach out on my website, Nicole4FORBoulder.com. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Well, I'm going to wrap things up here by thanking folks. So thanks so much for the Dairy Arts Center and for the Boulder County Arts Alliance for hosting today. And we have to understand, right, the arts doesn't get done by politicians. The arts get done by the performers and the administrators and the staff out in the community. So if you are a performer or an administrator or a volunteer with an arts organization, can you raise your hand, please? Right? Can we have a big round of applause for the people who actually make the arts happen here in our community, right? It's working together, all of us together. This is how we're going to improve the arts. We'll get this tax passed, we'll collaborate, and we'll take this community to the next level. And I commit to be there with you every step of the way. And I just have to end by saying just a little something more, which is, whether you sing, whether you dance, let's give the arts a fighting chance. Thank you.
Well, let's see if you can top that, city council candidates. Let's start this time from the right, and we'll go to the left. Yes, please, everyone say your name very clearly.
Aaron Gabriel Nair. Cool. So we have a blessing of having so many extremely qualified candidates here. Like, I want to see people who know climate like Ryan on this council. I want to see people who know diversity like Taisha on this council. I want to see people who know Boulder like Waylon on this council. And that's not to speak of all the other amazing qualities people have. But we only get to choose 4, and I think it's really important that we choose not based just on who agrees with us. There's such this temptation to just be like, this person agrees with me, I want to vote for them. But what we need is a council who can work together. Like on this stage at the end, we see this thing where here's people voting yes on this side and voting no on this side, and we can quickly fall into, oh, the people voting no don't support the arts, but clearly that is not true. It's the same thing happening at a lot of other forums where if we were saying yes on safe zones versus no on safe zones, it's easy to be like, these are the people who don't support kids, and that's not the case. So I want to encourage us to be in dialogue with each other, to actually look at the nuances of this and get to the heart, because it's going to take all of us participating to move forward. Thank you.
My name is Tina Marquis, and Aaron almost always brings me to tears with his words about dialogue and not liking yes and no questions. I am so with him on that, and I think we need to do a lot more as a community together. And of course, I'll go in and say arts can help do that. I also think we need to continue to communicate to the community the value of arts. Why is a painting $2,000? Why is that maybe not even a fair price? What's the cost of canvas? What's the opportunity cost that they could have been working in another medium or working for even Starbucks and getting health benefits? So I think we need to really work on how do we value the arts as professionals with fair pay and living wages, and start there as a place to make sure that arts are sustainable in our community. Thanks very much.
Okay, it's Ryan Schuhard. I don't normally get the first name wrong, and I even have it on my shirt, but in any case, it's Ryan Schuhard. Thanks all for being here. I'm going to close with a few words about what excites me about the arts. And I started discussing climate action, and I'd like to return to that. So I said a few things about why the arts are important for creating social change, and I'd like to add to that. More things we need from the arts is to illustrate our future worth preserving, to create new avenues to engage on difficult and divisive issues, and to imagine new possibilities. I'd also like to say, from a more urban planning and design transportation, we really need the arts. We need the arts to help create more of a visual vision for what we are going to concretely invest in and do. We need arts as a design philosophy because we know that Boulder residents want beautiful things, and we need to have more of a do or do not, there is no try, when we're doing transportation and other projects. So I'm just going to leave you with the message that that Boulder needs you. Boulder needs the arts to build the future that we need. Thanks.
I'm Tara Weiner, as many of you know, and I'm running for re-election. And I want to bring us all back to 2 years ago when it was Nick who was the MC. And I remember that I was shaking. I was so nervous because, you know, speaking in public and all, it was hard for me. I remember that there was one question. I think the question was, do you want to give 15% or 20%? I can't exactly remember. But what I do know is whatever I said was the wrong answer, for sure. But one thing you know now is 2 years later that I've continually supported the arts in my votes. And you could say anything you want on this stage, that I know. But it's how you vote that really tells it like it is. And you know I've been a super big supporter of the arts in my voting, and so I hope that you will re-elect me, and so I could represent you once again. Thanks so much.
My name is Terry Bernchich. Before I moved to Boulder, I lived in Spain, Sevilla, Spain, for 2 years. It was the most nourishing and inspiring and stimulating experience of my life. I lived upstairs from a flamenco bar. I fell asleep to the sounds of the tapping on the tablao. I attended flamenco shows all over the town, on bridges, in palaces. I took Sevillanas dance lessons. My point being that art and music can be everywhere. It is so inspiring, and we need to challenge our city and our leaders and our artists to think big, but to also think small. Art can be everywhere. We should be looking at every nook and cranny in our city, every vacant space, and look at it as an opportunity for a canvas to create art and share it with our community. Thank you.
My name is Silas Atkins, and I neglected to mention in my opening that I'm a paraeducator at Manhattan Middle School, a school which has gotten a reputation for being an arts-focused school. It's so much more than that. It's a school that focuses on academics interlaced with the arts. And so I get the pleasure of watching students every day create things to tell a story, create things to express themselves, create things to be in community with each other. I see kids working with each other on things around that, and I get to accompany students to go to choir and band and orchestra and visual arts. And I get to walk through halls that are just chock full of amazing pieces of art that you don't really get to see them unless you're in the school community. And so I'd like to see us continue to look at ways that we can make sure that art gets out into the greater community and that we incorporate what our children are doing with that. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Taisha Adams, and it's hard. I wanna say yes to 2A, but I do not support funding through the backs of poor people. And that is what sales tax does. It is a regressive tax. They are paying more. And that means they're paying more when they shouldn't be paying more. And so we have to find ways that do not disproportionately impact poor people. That's A. B, I want our artists to have homes and food and transportation and all those quality of life that they need to live. So this is not the oppression Olympics. What I want and why I am running is because I believe we can create new ways. We created the Blue Line. We can do so much more than saddling our arts on the back of poor people. Let's do better. Please. Thank you.
So sadly, as we know, in Boulder, a lot of our artists are poor people. My mom barely made any money. We lost our house in 1991, or had to sell it because we couldn't afford the mortgage. I really appreciate what Aaron said and then what Taisha just said. This has been a difficult issue, and we don't want to take, rob Peter to pay Paul. We need to grow the whole pie. This city should be celebrating arts in the kind of visualization Terry gave us. Or if you know the artist Tatiana Kuzmanik, the visualization of art just being everywhere in our daily lives. And Boulder is gifted with that against all odds. I would disagree a little bit with my esteemed colleague Tara, or colleague in the future possibly, if it's up to you, if you so decide. And I would say you can see how someone will vote on the arts based on their involvement. I've been deeply involved in many different art communities over the years and supportive of them financially and, as the eloquent Tweedley says, with butts in seats. And I plan on voting that way and expanding the pie. I guess I'm out of time. Thank you. My name is Waylon Lewis. Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Oh, wait. Don't start my time yet. Wait. I got a problem. Okay. I think I'm good there. Okay, so I'm not an artist. I'm a linear thinker. I deal with contracts every single day. That's what I do. But I'm surrounded by creative people. I have singers as daughters. I have a husband who's an illustrator, who's an incredibly passionate artist that took his passion and made it his profession. And what I'm good at is looking at people like that and looking at what they love and what they do and turning it into something. I'm a manager. I manage my family's visions. I manage their expectations. I manage their budgets. And I make sure that what they want from a creative standpoint can happen. And that's what I want to help do if I'm elected to the City of Boulder City Council. I think that we have so many artists in our community, and we have so many opportunities here. With just the change of a football coach, we have created such a boom in our economy. A few years ago, I went to Amsterdam and I attended, at a really, really low point in my life, I attended Keukenhof Gardens and saw the tulips, and I saw Floriade. These were two events that were extraordinary. They brought people from all over the world. They do amazing things for that economy. And if we can do stuff like that here, using the 2A tax and however we decide to fund it, we can do what CU did with a single football coach. And so that's what I want to do here in Boulder. I want to take the money that we have and I want to create something amazing and world-renowned, and I think that we can do it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jacques DeCallo, born and raised in Boulder. A couple things I'd just like to touch on the reuse of city-owned buildings. I think we could push it a step further with doing a co-op, an artist co-op for affordable housing, where we give struggling artists an opportunity to live in an affordable place where there's affordable rent, and then also give them a space to present their art, to sell their art, to have displays, galleries. I think that'd be a great opportunity that I'd work with staff to find. Second thing, I think Boulder needs more Indigenous art representation. That is something I'm critical on. It's something I studied in school, not specifically Indigenous art, but Indigenous law. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by the Lummi Nation in Bellingham, Washington, and learned that their representation is critical to making sure that we understand the history of our land. I'd like to thank the Dairy Arts Center. I've been coming here for years. My parents have been taking me here for years since I was a little kid. This place is awesome. It has really avant-garde performances, cool movies that aren't going to go into theaters, but are very educational, very different. Catch me at the creek with my mediocre bluegrass band, hanging out, playing music. Thank you.
Before I introduce the great Deb Malden, I just want to say thank you for having me as your moderator this evening. It's been a privilege and a pleasure. We've covered a lot of territory this evening. I was specifically interested in more conversation about the pie. So maybe we can talk about that in the lobby. Yeah. I don't know. And I also wanted to thank Pam, wherever she is. Oh, okay.
Hi there. So first, I just want to thank Justin. I think you've done a great job moderating. I really want to thank the candidates. They're doing 1 or 2 of these a day, I think, from now until Election Day. I encourage everyone here to continue to do your research. This isn't the only conversation that these candidates are having, so they have so much to share about how they believe they can improve the city. So I encourage you to reach out to them and perhaps attend other forums focused on other city priorities. I want to thank all of you. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for being here. I hope that this has been informative. I hope that personally on behalf of Create Boulder and I believe Boulder County Arts Alliance, we hope you will support 2A. We believe that it will be transformative. The city will have a year to plan how the funding is spent, and we think it will do really extraordinary things for arts and culture in our community and really help bring the entire city together to celebrate what the arts can do and how the arts can advance other priorities in the city. Please consider voting for 2A. It supports the arts. It also supports the general fund. It supports public safety, and it supports human services and other city priorities. So I think that's it. But again, I really want to thank these folks. We gave them a lot of material to read, and I can tell from their answers that they actually took this very seriously. It's a lot of work. So thank you all. Thank you.